Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. Now, one thing that has kind of flown under the radar is that Kabam actually changed the meta for season 21, and as we can see, there is Bolster energy node now, and it reads as: while suffering from a damage over time effect that deals energy damage, the defender gains plus 90% energy resistance. It is, however, significantly different and less punishing node than initially advertised one or initially planned one, which was high energy diet. And high energy diet reads as follows: defender has 99% energy resistance, and any hit that deals energy damage regenerates them for what the damage would have been. While the defender is affected by Incinerate, Shock, or Cold Snap debuff, the defender gains 100% of bar power every 10 seconds. So high energy diet is much more punishing and effectively completely validates all energy attacks. Invalid. Now, Bolster energy effectively only deals with debuffs and passives. So there are several different things, and there is no additional, penalty for inflicting energy damage like there is in the high energy diet. So that means a whole bunch of champions that would not have worked previously will work now, despite how it might initially look. And we can take a look at some of them. For instance, Photon previously would be able to do hardly any damage to the opponent. Opponents would have massive energy resistance, and unless you crit, you basically deal no damage at all. And when you do crit, unless you have the Petrify on, they would regenerate a lot. So Photon is now going to be perfectly viable on attack and defense. Carry on with Kingpin as well, because both of Kingpin's special attacks actually involve energy damage. Oh no, actually it's just the level 2, but still. Kingpin would have lost his level 2. Now his level 2 is going to be perfectly fine, and should you run Kingpin, that's going to be perfectly viable. Another great win it is here for Havoc, because on his heavy attack he has feedback damage, but if I'm not mistaken, it's not classified as damage over time effect, and even if it is, Havoc will still work because you can do damage or you can do energy damage to the opponent. So it's good news for all big Havoc users. Similar to Bishop, Bishop's level 2 is still going to be perfectly available to utilize. Yes, his level 2 does inflict the Incinerate, at which point opponents will have, that big energy resistance active on them. But at that point, it won't matter that much because level 2 will have already dealt the damage. He's not going to be as effective as if that node was not there, but at the very least, he is going to be viable. Right. And as we can see, his basic attacks are all physical as well. So, moving on, Prowler, I think, is quite a big winner here, because in order for Prowler to access his big damage, his most damage, you need that Incinerate. And previously, if you placed that Incinerate, opponent would be obviously regening back pretty much everything. And, opponent would have been regening from that and gaining a ton of power. But now, since the rest of Prowler's stuff is physical attacks, and you still have all of his other abilities, Prowler is going to work perfectly fine. Moving on, we have CGR again. As long as you avoid the level 1, effectively you suffer no drawback, because you can use your level 2, and the high energy diet would have effectively regenerate some or most of the damage that CGR does, but no longer the case. America Chavez is a great example of a champion that I thought I'm going to have to abandon, and we won't anymore, because she doesn't place any dot, so she will work perfectly fine, as well as Hood, for instance, who does energy damage with his hexes. But as long as you do not have a debuff on the opponent, you're perfectly fine. You can still do detonations. This will also matter on the defensive end, because we already saw quite a few defenders that will likely have presented problems. For instance, had high energy diet stayed in place, somebody like Serpent and Maestro too would have virtually no counters. Because if you take a look at who counters Serpent, I already mentioned America Chavez, right? and America Chavez would not have worked. Then we would take a look at the rest of the Mystic champions that do work great against Serpent. We're primarily looking at, we have Wiccan. Wiccan's full with energy. Well, Wiccan's still not going to work. But then we would have to take a look at Sim Supreme, as well as Kate Bishop in skill class. Sorry, I'm mixing up with Maestro counters. It's a bit late here, I'm doing my best. But the point is, it's Kushala. Obviously, it's Kushala. Duh. Kushala would not, and Kushala is still not going to work, but at the very least, we got Chavez back for Serpent. It's still going to be a massive problem next meta, though. Similarly, Maestro would have been even harder because Kate Bishop would not be able to take Maestro. She still won't, but we would have to also lose out on a lot of damage for America Chavez and a whole chunk of other Mystic champions. Anyways, the point is that this new node is easier for the players. Additional point that a lot of people were asking me previously is that whether vital strikes and these bursts of regeneration do interact with reinvigorated unblockable, and they do not. So when you do take a hit in the block, it will not count towards reinvigorated unblockable, which means for the most champions, for most part, this node should not come into play in any significant matter, because there aren't many champions that spam that many regions and are a threat on defense at the moment anyways. However, that also does mean that Season 21 meta is going to be kind of a nuke fest, because with the change to the nodes, vast majority of the champions will work. Obviously, there will be some exceptions. Some champions will be slightly hindered, as we discussed now, but not massively as they otherwise would have been. I will, of course, be making my meta predictions and MVP videos and stuff like that for the upcoming season when that draws closer. The good thing is, this time around, I will actually be able to test out the new metas before I make videos for them, because we have off-season for that. So in off-season, obviously, I'll be testing out both Victory Track and Gladiator Circuit metas, making the MVP prediction videos, and hopefully you guys will watch them and also find them useful. All that being said, on a personal note, that just makes me that much more eager to rank up my Havoc. Finally, really wanted 7-star Havoc, and he would have sucked for the high energy diet, but he's going to be fine now. So Havoc's going to go up because he's also going to be a tactic champion, a tactic defender, and also he's going to be very good for crit me with your best shot meta, which is going to be Season 22 meta. Either way, let me know what you guys think about the video and the changes to the Battlegrounds meta, and I'll catch you guys soon. Bye-bye. Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information about the next